Okay, so we are now in Adobe Bridge, and I'm going to briefly show you how to customize the interface, or at least show you how mine is actually customized. So by default, Bridge should start like this. So there is a panel on the left, one on the right, and of course there's the grid in the middle. So this is the file we're going to be working with, and you've probably already seen it in the preview. And most of the time I actually don't use all the panels of Bridge. I collapse them using the shortcut, which is Tab. And that's very useful because especially when I'm on the go using my laptop, and this is actually being recorded on the laptop but using an external monitor, 4K screen. Well, most of the time on the laptop I don't have the real estate of a 4K screen. I have the internal display, and the internal display I have on the Dell XPS 13 is really cool because it is, I think, 95% of the Adobe RGB color space. However, I need more space to work with just so I can see more sliders, more settings, etc. So I collapsed the panel because, yes, most of the time you probably gonna have a look at the metadata. Preview, well, I'm not too sure because if you use the space bar, I think most of the time you're gonna be reviewing your photos using the spacebar, so browsing them and then hitting the spacebar to have it full screen. You're probably not going to use it in the preview. At least that's what I do. So just so you know, don't be intrigued if you see my Bridge most of the time like this. And I give you the hints. It's just the tab. This is going to be the folders, your favorites, and then collections. Again, most of the time this is collapsed, and then I can use the metadata. But you can use the tab key. Otherwise, if you double click on the CR2 file, and you will be able to open a raw file by double clicking, but the action of double clicking trigger opening camera. But there are actually two ways to do that. By default, Photoshop is going to be launched, if not so already, and camera is going to start, but it's Photoshop driving it, right? If I try to go back to Photoshop, I can't. This is the default behavior. However, if you want Bridge to be able to run camera and have Photoshop being able to do its stuff in the background, whatever you want to do with Photoshop alongside with camera, well, you can actually do it. If you go to Edit and then Preferences, and not Camera Preferences, you go to General and then you have double click Edit Camera Settings in Bridge. And that's what we want to do. I think it's better to have it this way because then if I double click, I can edit using camera, obviously, but it is Bridge being busy running it, and I have Photoshop available. Say, for example, you edited the photo and you want to compare the two while they are being edited, and that's a really clever way to do stuff in camera while Photoshop is still available, and it is still available to do modification inside Photoshop as well. So that's very useful to have them both running side by side, and so you don't block Photoshop using camera, right? So this is the environment I have for my personal taste. I usually collapse one of the panel in Bridge. I have most of the time Bridge in the background running camera, and Photoshop being able to do something else if I want to. So you don't have to do this. It's just a few hints and tips for you in case you may find them very useful. This is the way I work. Now it's obviously better to reconfigure or customize Bridge, camera, and Photoshop according to your taste. Just a final note on user interface and customizing and all of that. This is Photoshop, and it's not exactly the way it looks by default. So now with Photoshop CC 2017 and 2015, Adobe is pushing really hard for you to use their online libraries. So you store assets in the cloud. I'm gonna be honest, I don't use that stuff at all. I don't use Creative Cloud file storage. I use OneDrive, but also I don't use assets in the cloud. I'm not saying it's bad, it's not the way I work. I don't use it. And I don't want panels to use that space by default. So if you go up there in the top right corner, this is Essentials. This is the workspace, and I'm going to reset it actually. So reset Essentials. So yeah, this is the Photoshop, the way it looks the first time you're going to start it. And there's actually a welcome screen that I disable as well. And there is that libraries panel that takes all that right side of the screen. And again, when I use the laptop and not the external screen, I really need that space. I don't want a panel that I don't use to be there all the time. So just, you can remove it by dragging it on the left side. If you think at some point you may want to use libraries, well, you can just dock it as an icon and then just click on it, right? Or you can just hide it by clicking on the close button. You can reveal it at any time, obviously. It's not permanent. You go to Window and then there is Libraries, right? And it's going to open at the last location it was used. Right, so I'm closing this. Now again, color and swatches. I use most of the time the color picker, like the regular color picker the one you're going to be using all the time. And I think most of the people use it that way. And for portrait retouching, we don't actually use color and swatches. That's something you would use for digital painting or comics or whatever, web design probably. So it's up there, it's not very useful. What I find useful is having the history. So if you go to Window and History, then it will list all the different steps of your composition. Basically every time you do something in Photoshop, it's going to record one step. And this is very useful to see what you've done, and if you want to go back, it's very useful to have it listed that way. So usually I dock the history panel on top of properties, and I just put colors and swatches on the left bar. So now I have history, properties, and adjustments. The adjustment layers, we're going to talk about it later. But there is another way to go and pick an adjustment layer by using the button. And most of the time I use the button at the bottom of the layers panel. So properties is pretty much on all the time. Oh yeah, if you're wondering why this thing is appearing, it's because I use a Wacom tablet. And because I have my hand on the right part of the Wacom tablet, it shows this menu, which you can disable. Basically, I can show it to you if you go to Wacom Desktop Center. So this is the interface we have, and if you go to Express Keys settings, and here we go, I have Express Keys, Show Express View. However, for Photoshop, I have a different set of shortcuts for each button of the Wacom tablet, and Show Express View is actually checked, and I'm going to uncheck it. Right, so now it shouldn't appear again, and if it does, I would just disable it later. Right, so this is the interface I'm using. You can save your workspace by clicking New Workspace and reset the one you messed up with Reset Essentials. So JP for my name, this is the way I use it. You can drag a bit on the left if you want the panel to be a bit bigger. You can collapse it this way. So the interface of Photoshop is really flexible, and I think you should spend a bit, like a few minutes, if you're starting with Photoshop and that's your very first retouching session, like deep dive into a retouching session. Please spend a few minutes to customize it, because you need to be in a comfortable environment to work. Like, you don't want the user interface to bother you while you're working and while you're watching your image, right? You should be concentrating on your image and not the user interface. So by the way, this is the way I use it, and I wanted to spend these few minutes explaining to you the way I use it and why. And if you're happy with the way it is by default, so yeah, no problem, you can use it with the way it is by default. Now you can spend also a few minutes to customize it before going to Camera for the first video, where we're going to explain how Camera is actually working.